everyone. Welcome to Move Well, Live Well. We get a number of people that come in here with issues regarding their shoulder. They're getting pain in the shoulder, it's discomfort, achiness, and sometimes it feels like it's not hanging correctly. It just feels like heavy, and it feels like it just hangs incorrectly in the socket. It feels like it needs to pop, or it just feels like it's out of place. Well, what's going on with these folks is that, here, let's face it, our posture in general is kind of like this. And what's happening with these folks, they've experiencing an issue with their shoulder is that with too much internal rotation. So their shoulder is kind of like in this internally rotated, defaulted position like this, versus if you look at my shoulder here, this is relaxed for me, and my shoulder sits at the sides. But we're seeing a lot of folks having this internally rotated shoulder here, so then the head of the humerus kind of sits forward in the joint capsule. And they're getting a lot of pain in the back of the shoulder right here. And this is what they do. They feel the discomfort back here in the shoulder, and it feels achy and feels like it's heavy. And they do this. They do this number to stretch their shoulder. Now, this is a great stretch. However, if your shoulder is dumped forward like this, to stretch it like this, you can get impingement. You can pinch or impinge a lot of those structures. There's an orthopedic test called Hawkins-Kennedy that does this. And when you're doing that stretch, you're essentially pinching off those structures. It may feel good for a little bit, but you're further putting your shoulder in that internally rotated position, further accentuating this nastiness back here. So how do you fix that? How do you fix a shoulder that's sitting forward in the socket and internally rotated like this on a regular basis, and fix that, having to try to stretch the back, the discomfort and pain and achiness in the back of the shoulder? Well, what you do, you have a floor. You can use the floor, you can use a sturdy table or a sturdy counter in your house. And what you do is this. So here you are. Instead of stretching like this, right? What you do, you want to get that shoulder back into the socket better, into the capsule. Sit in the capsule and in the socket better, instead of dumped forward like this in the socket, further causing discomfort. So you want to get this to sit better in here. How you do that? Just like this. So here you are. Tilt you guys down here just like this. And I'm gonna do it from this angle first, so that way you kind of see what I'm doing. And like this. So I'm gonna use my upper body weight. I'm just down on the floor like this, kind of like I'm gonna do a cobra, you know, like a cobra press up like that in yoga. So I'm in this kind of yoga prone position here. And I'm gonna do is I'm gonna sink my upper body onto my shoulder like this. See from the side view here what it looks like. So here I am, and I'm sinking, see that? I'm keeping my neck neutral. I'm not, doing this. I'm not doing this. Keeping my neck neutral as I do this, and I'm sinking my upper body into my shoulder. See that? And I'm just gonna hunt around or search around for those tight corners in the posterior part, in the back part of my shoulder. And I can feel right there, that's tight and tender in there. And I just kind of rock back and forth. See that? I can kind of, if I want, I can kind of rock back and forth like this, or I can just kind of move my, I can elevate or depress my shoulder a little bit to get it back in that socket, let it sit in that socket a little better. So here I am, the front view, like this. See? Again, I'm sinking down into this shoulder. I'm using this arm kind of for support, right there. See, and I can find a spot right there. Ooh, that's good. And I can just kind of elevate and depress my scapula like this, kind of like I'm doing a shrug, shrugging up, shrugging down. And I can kind of lean to the side a little bit, just like that. Boom, and then, see, this is not, it's a great, it stretches the posterior elements of my shoulder and the posterior capsule a little bit, and I'm not going into that internally rotated pinchy position for my shoulder. See that? So here I am, and I'm just leaning to the side like that, and ooh, man, that feels great. So here's the side view again, and I'm doing is I'm leaning toward you. See that? Just leaning toward you, and man, that feels like it's already kind of sitting in my socket a little better. I can feel that tight and tenderness in there. Right there. Ooh, that's a great stretch. I can feel that head of the humerus working in to that posterior part of my shoulder, that capsule, into the muscles, that deltoid too. I can feel that deltoid stretching through there. Man, that feels great. See that? Ooh, that is good. Working there 3 to 5 minutes. So again, you're sinking down like this, and then you're searching for those tight areas of the shoulder, like right there. And then you can just kind of oscillate back and forth in that spot at that end range. See that? Boom. Side view again. So I find when I'm doing this, as I sink down into this and I lean to my right, this is my right shoulder, I lean to the right, and I can really feel that. That's a good one. In the posterior part of the shoulder, the side part of the shoulder too. Right there, that's a great one. Now, essentially, if you're gonna stretch your shoulder, don't get me wrong, this is a great stretch if you don't have impingement syndrome. This is a great stretch. I don't have impingement syndrome, but if your shoulder is like this and you do this, that further pushes the shoulder forward in the socket. So then you got this internally rotated thing, and it's going to further exacerbate the issue. It's going to make the issue worse. It's not going to fix the issue. So if you don't have a floor, I know you have a floor. The alternative would be to, instead of doing this, you're kind of pushing your shoulder towards you. See that? You're retracting, kind of like what we did down here. You're retracting that shoulder into its socket. You're pushing into it. And then you kind of lean toward that side a little bit. And you're pulling, as you're retracting, you're pulling it to that side. This way. See that? I'm pulling it this way. So this is my right shoulder. I'm pulling my shoulder, my elbow to the left as I'm retracting. See that? Now my shoulder's in a good position, retracted. Kind of like, if you're going to set up for a bench press, you don't want to set up in your bench press like this. You want to set up in your bench press like this. See? That shoulder sits in the socket nicely. You don't want to be like this when you're setting up in your bench press. See? Where your chest is hollow. You want to set up where your chest is out, your shoulders are back in the socket nicely. So shoulder in the socket nicely, and then you can lean. See that? You can pull your right elbow towards you like that, and you can get a really good stretch in there in that posterior element, the capsule and the rotator cuff muscles in the posterior part, even the deltoid, the medial deltoid in there, versus like that. If you have impingement stuff, this is not the greatest stretch for you. So another option too, if the face down stretch like this is too intense, if you're, because a lot of people, they've been like this for a long time. So that face down position to put that shoulder back kind of in the posterior part of the shoulder, into the socket, may be a little too intense for them. So what you can do is you get yourself a relatively light dumbbell to start with. This is just a 10-pound. This is a 10-pound dumbbell, right? So then you lie on your back. So you lie on your back like this. Let me tilt you guys down a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. There you go. So you lie down on your back like this. Right there. So you lie down on your back like this, and just like you're going to set up for a dumbbell press or a bench press, you want, instead of You don't want to start like this in a bench press, right? You don't want to be protracted in the shoulder. You want to keep that shoulder retracted, and that's what you're doing. You're retracting, and then you're going into external rotation. So you're letting that shoulder sink into the floor. See, boom. Now it's going back into the socket nicely. It's setting into the posterior part of the capsule nicely. It's stretching out the posterior capsule of the shoulder, and you're going into external rotation, working in that externally rotated position as your shoulder is retracted. See, you don't want to be here. You want to be here, nice and retracted, and working in that externally rotated position. So start off with something light. If this position right here is too intense, you know, again, we do these, you know, you want to work in your tolerance. So if you can't sink all the way in without too much discomfort and pain, you know, you may have to only sink just a little bit, and you can already feel, some of these folks, they can already feel that just by sinking in a little bit. Or you can start off with just the dumbbell and work up to heavier and heavier weight, and to a point where you can put your body weight into that exercise. So you don't have, if you don't have a floor, I know you do, you can, if it's uncomfortable to get on the floor, you can use a counter, a sturdy table to get into as well. So anyway, if you have any questions with this video, drop it off in the comment section below. We thank you for watching. We appreciate it. If you're new here, hit subscribe. And when you hit subscribe, make sure you hit that bell notification button, because that'll keep you in the loop with subsequent videos coming here in the near future. And that way you can continue to move well, live well. Also, I know you know folks who are experiencing pain in the back of the shoulder. Shoulder feels heavy, achy. It just doesn't feel like it moves right. Or you just see them, they're like, their shoulders are just kind of like this everywhere they walk. They're just kind of like in this position. And they may not have symptoms yet, but I can guarantee you here in a little bit, they're gonna start having symptoms, or they're gonna get to a point where they're gonna injure themselves, because this is not normal. So share this with them. Sharing is caring. And give us a thumbs up, give us a like. It lets us know you care. Anyway, we thank you for watching. We appreciate it. We'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.